Friday of a bye week, unless you wear purple and orange, and then you're maybe starting to make a trip up to Chapel Hill to take on the Fighting Bill Belichick's, or maybe you're a fan of the Chanticleers and you're getting set for their big weekend. Maybe you're a Paladin or a Terrier. But if you're a Gamecock, Tyler Head, you get the weekend off. You get to take some time, maybe the honey-do list, maybe some pumpkin patches, maybe a corn maze involved. We got a lot of questions here on your off week. What direction you go?
Yeah, my wife's posed a couple of different fall-related things going on, and I'm not opposed to doing those, but just want to make sure I'm not missing anything important while those things are happening. So you got to kind of structure it around what games are happening when, because there is a lot of interesting things happening this weekend that I do want to pay attention to.
It's not a bad weekend. It's not a bad weekend of games, and I kind of laughed because I was talking to my son Austin last night, and we were kind of mapping out Saturday, like, hey, Clemson, North Carolina at noon, Vanderbilt, Alabama at 3:30, Florida State, Miami at 7:30 tomorrow night. Okay, and you filter in the other games, and Austin goes, well, Dad, Friday night, BYU and West Virginia. And I thought, oh, okay, I like that. Yeah. I haven't watched Rich Rod this year. I know West Virginia's trying to bounce back. They did have a good win over Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago, but they had a bad loss to Ohio. For some reason, just because I think the way I grew up, BYU would always play like a Thursday or Friday night game. I always kind of enjoy watching BYU. So I was like, oh, yeah, sure. So this morning, as I'm kind of doing a little prep here, I'm like, oh, that's 10:30 tonight. Yes, I got to stay all the way up to a Friday night on a 10:30 for BYU, West Virginia. But college football is carries on this weekend just without the Gamecocks. But my question, do you watch more college football on your bye week than you do when your team plays? Like, do you watch more of it? I know during the week or during your game, when I say your, but like if you're a South Carolina fan, you're intently tuned into South Carolina. Maybe you're tailgating and you're not watching games. But on the bye week, do you actually sit down and say watch more football overall? Now, you and I are maybe a little bit different because of our jobs.
Sure.
And also with my health situation and everything going on, I've watched more football this year from college to NFL than I have probably in the previous 30 years. But with that being said, I wonder, for you out there, 803-404-6100 on the bye week, do you sit down and like, I don't have to worry about South Carolina today. I'm just going to veg out pizzas, wings, steaks, burgers. I'm taking all day from 12 to 12, and I'm just watching football, and I'm not worrying about my team.
I think you're not wrong to go either way, and I think also the way the Carolina season goes, I think, is indicative on how you feel about it, because when Carolina's good and you're in a bye week, much like we talk about the other sports, basketball and baseball, when you're good, everything else around you matters, right? You're talking about, okay, this team's coming up, or we're positioning ourselves this way based on where we're ranked and stuff like that, where you're kind of looking ahead and saying, okay, how does this affect Carolina? And you're in an okay spot right now. Your goals are still ahead of you, but if you were 5-0, right? If Carolina went into this bye week 5-0 and ranked, in the top 10 or whatever, and then you're looking ahead and the excitement level's that much higher to where you're saying, okay, I want to watch Oklahoma, I want to watch Alabama, and get a sense of these teams that are coming up, because Carolina, if they win those games, they'd be 5, 6, 7-0 and those kind of things. I do think where Carolina sits and how good their season's going does have an effect on how you view the bye week and what other games are happening.
And we'll get into that schedule. Brian Edwards from Vegas Insider will join us coming up here later on today. We'll get his picks for the weekend. Again, Tyler, as we said, it's not last weekend. This would be a good, kind of glancing at, this would be a good weekend if not for last weekend being so great, I think. I think if not for last weekend, we'd kind of be looking at this weekend like, not bad. There's some intriguing little games taking place. I'll give you one, the Fighting Dow Loggins in Appalachian State hosting Oregon State. Oregon State 0-5 and has been just shoved around by everybody. But Oregon State comes to the East Coast, goes to Boone, North Carolina, and for Dow Loggins and company, I'm kind of like, I think I might. It's on ESPN Plus at 3:30. I might have to just flip over for like a quarter or something.
Yeah, I picked App State for our staff picks this week in that game, because with how bad Oregon State is and going all the way across the country, that seems like a perfect opportunity for the Mountaineers to win that game. And, yeah, again, we have the local interest with Dow Loggins and seeing what he's doing down there. So might sneak a peek at that game, especially if it's close. It's one of those things like you pay attention to the score and like, oh hey, it's a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. All right, let's see how this one ends, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm with you. That game, by the way, for those interested, it'll be on ESPN Plus tomorrow at 3:30. But again, the game will be up in Boone, and I'm with you. I was picking on the BigSpur.com's pick 'em that John Whittle sends out, and I also went with Appalachian State. But I'll be quite honest, that was a Dow Loggins homer pick. There was not a whole lot of like research put behind that to feel comfortable with that pick. I think App State's a 1.5 point favorite in that thing.
I think so.
I think that's right. So, but 803-404-6100 on anything you want to weigh in on today. I'm going to put out a poll question, Tyler. We'll see. We'll start with this because we're going to have fun today. It's kind of a spooky start to the Halloween month, but with the with the bye week, yeah, I put out there. What do you watch more football during your team's bye week? Do you watch less football? Is this like your vacation, or are you like, man, I'm getting away from it. I'm not messing with it. I'm staying away from it. Or do you probably watch about the same?
Yeah, I'm interested to see where people go with this because you can go either way. And again, for those of us that have families and stuff, you do have other obligations that you have to do on the bye week because you don't have to be locked down to Carolina football. So it may not be by choice. Sometimes it is the wife saying, "Hey, this is the weekend to go to the pumpkin patch or the corn maze," and sometimes you just have to do those things.
I was talking to one of our coworkers out in the little lobby right before we walked in, and they were saying that this weekend they were cutting the grass.
Okay.
It would be a grass cutting, kind of like the final cutting of the year for that. So maybe that's on your honey to-do list or something.
It's the closing ceremonies of grass cutting season because when it gets cold and it gets wet, the grass isn't growing as much.
That's right. Yeah, good way to put it. The closing ceremonies. Yeah, you get out and have a big to do out in the yard. So maybe you're doing that again. Maybe you're hitting the pumpkin patches or the corn mazes. Maybe you're going to get into a little Major League Baseball. Tyler Head, you and I.
Yep.
We will get a pizza. We're going to get some pizza, and we're going to put Brian Glenn in a Yankees shirt. And what a pitching performance last night, and what a turnaround from Aaron Boone in Game 1 where he pulls Max Fried at 102 pitches. And last night, I don't know if he just felt comfortable or what, but he lets is it Schleider? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Schleider.
He lets Cam Schleider go.
Schlittler.
Thank you, Schlittler.
You got to be careful how you say that. Schlittler.
You got to be very careful. Yes. But he lets him go 8 innings in one of the most dominant postseason performances you'll ever see.
Yeah. And I did at a moment find myself like, am I actually cheering for the Yankees? And I was like, yes, I would like some pizza. So yes, for the first time in my life, I did, feel joyful seeing the Yankees do something successful. And yeah, Schlittler, phenomenal performance. I love a good pitching matchup, and that's what we've seen so much through these first couple of games of the wild card round. And man, the other series has been fun, but there's just something about the rivalry between the Red Sox and the Yankees that adds an extra layer to this. The emotions of the game. The Yankees third baseman diving over the railing to catch that pop fly. It just kind of emphasizes how much this means to everybody and what's on the line here. And it's been an exciting couple days watching these first couple rounds. And glad the Yankees won in this one.
Everything will get going tomorrow. The Cubs, they advance. They made for a happy Jen Jensen. Cubs will get everything going tomorrow in the divisional series. Cubs and Brewers, 2:00 game in Milwaukee. New York heads on to Toronto, 4:08 tomorrow on Fox. Tomorrow night, Dodgers and Phillies. That'll be a really good series. Both of those teams more than capable of winning the World Series, 6:38 tomorrow night. And then it'll be the late contest, Detroit traveling out to Seattle. So the divisional series get going tomorrow. But yesterday, a lot of fun. Maybe we didn't get the suspense, Tyler, that we had from some of the games because you had the 4-0 game. Was it the Cubs won 3-1?
Mm-hmm.
That one did kind of get a little dicey there in the ninth. But again, it was fun to watch all of the elimination games yesterday.
Yeah, and Detroit, much like Cleveland did in Game 2, kind of put together a strong 7th inning after Cleveland did that in the 8th inning in Game number 2. But I mean, Cleveland got a couple guys on there in the bottom of the ninth to at least make it interesting. But yeah, Detroit was able to hold on to win. But again, all these games have been competitive outside of the Dodgers kind of taking care of the Reds. But yeah, a fun couple series there, and now excited to see what happens in the divisional round.
So we'll get into a little more baseball as well. Talk maybe a little Braves, and keep you caught up on what's going on with the MLB playoffs. Again, we'll get into college football. Texter weighs in. Absolutely watching tons of football in bye weeks, assuming that I do not have an obligation that was planned due to the week being a bye week. Most relaxing week of the football season. Tyler, you go with that? Most relaxing week?
I think so, because you don't have the stress of what your team is doing, and you can just kind of sit back and be a fan for a day. And, LSU's not even playing tomorrow, so you can't even, scout them ahead of next week's game because they'll be on a bye too. So, stress-free football, and, you can just kind of take in what should be a fun day. Again, not a ton of ranked versus ranked matchups, but that typically sets you up for some other chaos that happens of upsets and things like that I'm sure we'll see plenty of tomorrow.
So we'll get into that, and I'll even offer you and Terry brought this up yesterday, and I'll offer this later on in the show, just in case you're looking for something. You don't want to do the honeydew list. You don't want to go out and cut the grass. You don't want to go to a pumpkin patch or a corn maze. Maybe you don't want to watch football. Well, you don't want to watch real football.
Yeah.
Last night, had a lot of free time. Took in the first 2 episodes of Chad Powers on
How
Hulu.
was it?
I'll give you a rundown.
Okay.
I'll give it. We'll set that up here for later on. I'll give you. They released the first 2 episodes, and so I took it in last night. Wanted to see what it was about, and I'll give you a little review here coming up at the top of the hour as we roll along. 803-404-6100. We got the poll question out. You can go to my Twitter at WIL Gunter. Do you watch more football during your team's bye week than you do on a weekend your team is playing? Right now, just 25% saying watch more. Tied for 37 at 37.5 is watch less, and probably the same. So we'll see how that goes. Talk about your honeydew list, and we'll talk about South Carolina football when we come back. Look at the upcoming weeks here. As now we turn the calendar, we turn the page to a gauntlet, something that we knew was coming, and we'll talk about this. Is the gauntlet still exactly what we thought it would be as South Carolina gets set for LSU, for Oklahoma, for Alabama, and even though it's the first day of November, for Ole Miss? You're listening to Tyler Head, Bill Gunner. Captain David Ayers wandering the studio as well. It is the halftime show. Football Friday coming up here in about 15 minutes. We'll catch up with Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider, and we'll start looking around at some of the big picture games for the coming weekend. Again, should be a lot of fun as we get going with Friday night game. Got to admit, didn't watch a single snap, play, penalty, whatever, last night of Sam Houston in New Mexico.
Yeah, I didn't.
Not even sure it was New Mexico. It might have been New Mexico State.
I was going to say, I did have it on my mind to try and check that one out, but between the Yankees and the Red Sox and Thursday Night Football being for a banged-up 49ers team, was not expecting that out of them, as that game ended up being pretty fun going into overtime there.
Yeah, fun game there. And, Mac Jones takes a beating, but he makes the plays when it matters most. And daggone old 49ers pulling out a victory. That's a fun little rivalry, little back-and-forth series.
That is, and that's a fun division right now with everybody playing the way that they are. I don't know, did you see, and you may have saw the clip on Twitter, because Mac Jones went down. It seemed like he had a leg injury at one point in the game. They had to, tend to him, and he ended up walking off the field. But they showed Kyle Shanahan immediately after that. He just has this look on his face like, I can't believe I'm about to have to play my third quarterback, who is Taylor Martinez, by the way, for those that are not keeping up. You probably hadn't heard that name in a while. But Mac Jones ended up being okay. He got beat to hell last night, but stayed through for that entire game, and they ended up winning. We'll
talk more about that, but let's look a little bit of the South Carolina gauntlet through the month of October. Now, I'm going to include, I'm well aware that November 1 is actually November, but let's look at these next 4 games here and analyze them. That would be the Ole Miss game coming up on October 1st, because I think this is the one. Then you get the bye week after that, and then you go Texas A&M, Coastal, and Clemson. But these are the 4 that I think we all circled when we saw the dates of the schedule come out and went, wow, look at that. All right, so let's play a game here.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the team. There's 4 of them. You know who they are, but I'm going to give you. I want you to put yourself in your shoes when you were at SEC Media Day, and I want you to just, if you want to give me one sentence, why. But they are, as we sit here now in October, is the team better or worse than you thought? And we're just going to go with the team. Don't worry about South Carolina right now. But is the team better or worse? And one sentence, why? And is the game tougher or easier?
Okay.
Okay?
Cool.
So let's start. Obviously, next week in Baton Rouge, it'll be a night game. I always suspected it'll be a night game. LSU.
Easier. Because their offense isn't as good as we thought they would be at this point.
All right. So easier. Now we go to Alabama. Alabama here.
Now we're going back to the.
And we don't know. By the way, we don't know that because game time does matter a little bit.
It does. But that game will be at home. I'd say probably about the same.
Okay.
From where I thought they'd be. Now we didn't see the week 1 debacle coming, but the way they played last week, now they could lose to Vanderbilt tomorrow, which we'll get into. But I kind of feel about the same about Alabama as where I did back about midsummer, really.
Okay. Oklahoma
looks tougher, more challenging, but at the same time, we don't know Mateer's status.
Let's say the Mateer's out.
I feel better about that game then because, and look, Michael Hawkins.
Because I feel like if you say Mateer's in, you're like, it's definite. To me, it's definitely
tougher. But, and I know Michael Hawkins Jr. didn't have a lot of help last year. Bad offensive line, no receivers. Carolina made his life miserable for the 2.5, 3 quarters that he played of that game. But I would definitely feel better about that game if you tell me right now he's going to be starting as opposed to John Mateer, who may not be the same coming back from the hand injury. We don't know. We'll see.
Okay, and Mississippi.
Oh, I feel a whole lot worse about that one.
I do too.
I expect them to be good, right? But like last year was supposed to be the year where they made the playoff. They had it was their last dance, right? And that's what they talked about in the offseason last year was everybody's coming back. Jackson Dart, they got all this talent out of the portal. They were supposed to go on the run last year that was supposed to be the magical year, and that didn't happen. They come up short. But this year, man, they look even better with a backup quarterback, no less than Trinidad Chambliss. So, yeah, that game, and given the fact that you're going on the road for that one, a whole lot tougher than I thought it was going to be.
They remind me a little bit, and this is kind of a crazy analogy, but of the 98 Tennessee team.
Okay.
The reason being is I think it was the 97, I think it was 98. The 97 Tennessee team had Peyton Manning, and that was supposed to be their year.
Yep.
They were supposed to go win the national championship. And then when Peyton left, everybody was like, well, Tennessee will.
You're going to have a drop off when you lose a generational talent at quarterback.
And in comes T. Martin, and they beat Syracuse on a last-second field goal to get their season started up there in the Carolina. I remember that because 98, I was recording stuff on VHSs and recorded that game. Actually, it was a noon game. I'll never forget that. But there's a sense that Ole Miss is in line all of a sudden for a magical season. So you go. So now, real quick, rank them in order of what you think is now the toughest.
Toughest,
easiest.
Ole Miss. Second is Alabama. Third is Oklahoma, and fourth is LSU.
Okay, you gonna stick with that?
In terms of the next 4 games, yes.
In terms of the hardest.
Yes. Now, I will say I think the Alabama thing is like a 1A, 1B.
Okay.
I would just put Ole Miss slightly above them right now. I've been very impressed with what I've seen out of Ole Miss this year, but that could change based on how Alabama plays tomorrow. Honestly, it's one of those kind of things.
So to run down on my side of things, LSU. From what I thought at SEC Media Day, LSU is easier. I don't think they're as potent as we maybe thought they were. Garrett Nussmeier now, there's going to be questions about his health now.
Don't ask Brian Kelly about it.
Maybe that means Garrett Nussmeier comes out and he's Superman all of a sudden, throws for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns and reignites his Heisman campaign.
Be a very Carolina thing to happen.
That would be, yeah. And all of a sudden they're like, no, he actually wasn't injured. But I do think that game, relatively speaking, mind you, is easier than what I thought going into it when we were sitting at SEC Media Days. Alabama, I think, is tougher.
Okay.
I think is tougher. I think Alabama, you said about the same. This Alabama team now, it looks like it's starting to come on. Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what they're going to look like tomorrow coming off of that Georgia game, because the natural assumption would be that Alabama looks and goes, okay, home game, all right, Vanderbilt, that's no problem. We're going to just roll over them, and you're coming off of the big win, so you have a letdown. The Vanderbilt game probably is the one game they've had circled, maybe more so even than, as crazy as it sounds, than Georgia, because you got –
Sure.
Georgia's quarterback wasn't running his mouth. You'd beat Georgia last year. Georgia's quarterback wasn't running his mouth constantly. There wasn't an embarrassment of Georgia last year. There was an embarrassment of Vanderbilt. I'm not so sure that the Vanderbilt game, it wasn't more circled than the Georgia game, but I'm interested to see them more. But I actually think the Bama game for South Carolina is more difficult now than I initially thought.
Which that's fair. That's fair. And I going back to our conversations over the summer, I think we looked at that as like, well, Kalen DeBoer struggles on the road, right?
Yeah.
That was his big knock, is he can't win road games, which he did just that last week, and the toughest road game he's had in his SEC tenure so far, taking down Georgia. So the perception has definitely shifted for sure.
Oklahoma, no John Mateer. I actually go easier than what I thought.
Okay.
Probably about the same though.
All right.
I thought Oklahoma was the easiest of the 4 when we looked at these at SEC Media Day. And Ole Miss, miles ahead now. That is to me that is number one, the toughest game South Carolina will play. Probably the toughest game South Carolina will play on their schedule all season long. I'm like you. I see what Lane's doing there. I'm kind of infatuated with it real quick. I think he's found his quarterback. I think he's got things humming right now. There was less pressure this year than there was last year, and I think they're feeding off of it. If I had to rank these in order, it would be LSU, it would be Alabama, would be 2. Mississippi would be 1. Alabama would be 2, LSU would be 3, and Oklahoma would be 4.
Okay.
So
fair.
That's kind of the direction I go with that for what we're about to see South Carolina go through here in, again, I say October, but obviously November 1st is the Mississippi game. Yeah,
again, it's that middle 4 block of the schedule they've been looking at, like, okay, this is where your entire season swings, right? And again, we were hoping Carolina was going to be in a 5-0 at worst 4-1 position going in. We're saying,
we were doing game day this next week. And
and we're like, okay, well, if you're 4-1 going in, then you go 2-2, then you're still in really good shape. Well, now it's kind of like, well, if you go 2-2, then any hope of a college football playoff then goes out the window. So you got to navigate this schedule, this part of your schedule. Hopefully, maybe find 2 or 3 wins, which is a tall task.
Split them 2-2.
Split them 2-2, and still have goals ahead of you. But again, our perception of Carolina has changed a lot in the first 5 games compared to where we thought they were going to be entering this bye week.
We'll keep talking about this, but coming up next, Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider and MajorWager.com. He joins us. We'll take a look around the college football world, a few NFL games. What are his picks for the week? He'll tell you. It is the Halftime Show. 12:33 on a Friday, as we are now about little less than 24 hours away from the start of a Saturday football just extravaganza. And joining us now to give us his picks for the week is good buddy Brian Edwards of VegasInsider.com and MajorWager.com. Make sure you make them part of your Monday or your Saturday morning reading so that you're prepared for the games as well. And Mr. Edwards, I don't have your picks in front of me, so I'm just going to start with one that's maybe a little more near and dear to your heart very quickly. Gators Longhorns in the Swamp. How are we feeling?
Feeling well. I'll say this: I got on the Gators early in the week at +7, but late yesterday, a lot of books moved to 5.5, 5, and now it's even down to 4.5 at a lot of books. So I don't want to really recommend to listeners taking the Gators. I like them at 7, but I don't know that I like them at 4.5 or 5 because I didn't love them at 7 to begin with. But the thing that I like about it, well, I don't think Lagway's been 100% healthy. He's now had, a week off to not take any damage. And, there've been a lot of quotes from teammates and coaches that he's looked a lot better, kind of got his confidence back. But the big thing for me is Dallas Wilson, true freshman, 5-star. He enrolled early. He set every record in Orange and Blue game history, the annual scrimmage at the end of spring practice. He set every record they've ever had for a receiver, 10 catches, 199 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And he was dominating camp the first week of camp. He's a 6'3". I mean, he looks like he's got an NFL body already, and he is elite, and I was so excited to see this kid. But the second week of training camp, around August 9th or 10th, he goes down with an injury. He's been out all year, but he practiced all last week, practiced all of this week. So I'm hoping he's close to 100% healthy, and that could give Florida the spark they need offensively because the defense is playing great. And Arch, first career road start against Ohio State didn't go well. This is a second career road start, another very hostile environment. So I'll replace that game with a game that I've added here in the last 12 hours. I'm starting to like FSU plus 4.5 against Miami in bounce back mode and an extra day of rest because they played Friday night.
Brian, looking at the numbers for all these games this weekend, the one that stands out to me the most, and sometimes you see a number that I feel like is just begging people to take a team on, is Mississippi State. Last check was 15.5-point dogs to Texas A&M. Of course, Mississippi State already pulled the upset against Arizona State. Darn well could have won last week against A&M. I get it, they're going on the road, but that's still a massive number for a team that's played as well as Mississippi State has played this season.
Yeah, I agree. I like Mississippi State, and right before I came home, you guys, I was just checking the lines, the current ones of my games, and I see that DraftKings and BetMGM have moved A&M all the way up to 16.5 now. So maybe be patient. Maybe we can get this thing at 17. But anyhow, I made A&M 10.5. A&M has struggled at home for our purposes, 0-3 against the spread this season as a home favorite under Elko. They're 2-7 against the spread, whereas Levy, as a road underdog at Mississippi State, 4-1 against the spread. And going back to mid-ish last year, Mississippi State 11-2 against the spread in its last 13. And if anything, for me, I came away more impressed with Mississippi State, even in defeat last week, in overtime against the Vols. Now, my concern is, where's their psyche after a heartbreaking, overtime game, but it's still a ton of points. I got to go with the double-digit dog.
Okay. Yep. I'm with you. Again, I don't have it. What do we got next for him?
Let's see here. Let's throw up the game that's kind of the topic of the day. Game day will be there. Vanderbilt, again, a number that looks really big considering how good we think this team is. 10.5-point dogs on the road at Alabama.
Yeah, I like Vandy as a road underdog since Diego Pavia got there. They're 6-0 against the spread with 4 outright wins. And as an underdog of any sort, home, away, neutral, whatever, with Pavia, the Commodores are 10-2 against the spread with 7 outright wins. And I went back and did a little homework. DeBoer at Alabama, in my mind, has faced 6 really legit dual threat guys. Byron Brown from USF, Pavia at Vandy last year, Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, this one's kind of borderline with Nico at the Vols last year, but he did have 44 rushing yards that game. And then Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma last year, where Arnold had 131 rushing yards. And then FSU this year, where Castellanos had 78 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. In those 6 games, Alabama's 0-6 against the spread, 4 outright losses, and they've lost by 123.5 combined points to the number. Not outright, but, from the result of the game to the final, the closing spread. So I think Diego Pavia and Vandy is going to play well offensively. I like Vandy. I lean over as well, as long as it's 56 or fewer, 55.5 at last check, but Vandy's my main play.
He is Brian Edwards. Again, make sure you check out VegasInsider.com and MajorWager.com tomorrow morning, part of your reading. You can also follow him on Twitter at VegasBEdwards is the way to do that. Tonight, 10:30 game. Let's go with the Friday night game. BYU taking on West Virginia.
Yeah, the feel-good hours on a Friday.
That's
I
right.
like BYU. I got 18.5. It's 19.5 or 20 now. As long as it's 20 or fewer, I still like it. West Virginia, not only are they on a short week, they're traveling across the country and into altitude. They got beat 48-14 at home by Utah last week. 2 weeks ago, they lost 41-10 at Kansas. Their starting quarterback is out. Their second-string quarterback, who started last week, he's out. Their third-string quarterback, Max Brown, who started his career at Florida a couple years ago and isn't very good, he's questionable. So they're either going to start a fourth-string quarterback or their third-string quarterback who's not 100% healthy. And BYU, true freshman quarterback, Bear Bachmeier, 6 touchdown passes without an interception and 4 rushing TDs. I'll lay the big number with BYU.
In a few more minutes here with Brian Edwards, Vegas Insider, MajorWager.com. Let's string over to the NFL now. Monday Night Football, a game that I don't think anybody thought would be interesting before the season, but you have the Chiefs going on the road to the Jaguars. Last check, about a 3.5-point favorite for a tricky Chiefs team that has had their ups and downs this year, and a Jaguars team that I think surprised a lot of people so far.
Yeah, I think the 0-2 start was good for the Chiefs. Obviously, dating back to the Super Bowl, that's a 3-game losing streak, and I think it gave them a sense of urgency they haven't really dealt with in years, and I think they've responded well. The Giants game wasn't the prettiest win, but last week got plenty of style points. 5 touchdown passes without an interception the last 2 games for Mahomes. I think KC goes into Jacksonville, congratulates them on their 3-1 start, but then, shows them you're still just the Jags. KC for me.
Let's get you going on the early Sunday game. It'll be all kinds of interesting quarterback battles. Minnesota gets Cleveland, and I believe I saw this was Dillon Gabriel be quarterback number 46 or 47 since 1999 for the Browns. But Cleveland and Minnesota on Sunday morning. I believe is that one in Ireland? Am I right on that? Is it an international?
Yeah. This one's London, I think.
London last week.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
one's in London.
All right,
Yeah.
London. I'm sorry. Yep. All right, what do you got there?
And that's a very minor part of the handicap is that the Vikings aren't dealing with the jet lag and the time change because they've been there more than a week, whereas the Browns are. But I just like going against rookie quarterbacks making their first career NFL start. That's what we've got with Gabriel Hill here. Now, Minnesota's dealing with a lot of injuries, but that's why we're getting such an inexpensive price, either -3 or 3.5. If you can buy that hook to the key number of 3 without having to pay more than -130, probably want to do that. But if not, no biggie. I'm willing to lay the 3.5 to the Vikings.
Let's get one more in here before we got to let you go, and that would be actually you've got a couple. What do I want to call them? I don't play these prop bets is what we call them here. Give us a few of your player props for the weekend.
How much time we got?
About 2 minutes.
Bill? And
About a minute and a half.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going to rip through a bunch of them, but let's just go Jackson Dart over 36.5 rushing yards for the Giants at New Orleans. He had 54 last week. Let's go Jackson Dart anytime touchdown, which I've seen anywhere in the +170 to +210 range. He had a rushing touchdown on the first drive of the game last week. And then player props in college, I like Brendan Sorsby, Cincinnati quarterback against Iowa State in a noon game tomorrow. I like him anytime touchdown, which is around even money. And just like Jackson Dart. I'm also doing his rushing yards prop over 46 and a half. He scored a touchdown in 8 of the last 11 games, and he's run for 48 yards or more in 6 of the last 9. And another feel-good hours game late Saturday night. Let's go Cal +3 to Duke with Justin Wilcox as a home underdog. Cal is 14-5 against the spread, and as an underdog of any sort, Cal is 35-19 against the spread.
Make sure you check it out, VegasInsider.com or MajorWager.com. You can follow him on Twitter. You can even ask him questions. Vegas B. Edwards is the way to do that. Buddy, we appreciate it. Good luck to your Gators tomorrow, and we look forward to catching up next Friday.
Thanks, fellas. Y'all have a great weekend.
Glad to do it. There's a lot of good picks there. Again, he goes Vanderbilt plus the 10.5. Mississippi State, he'll buy that up. He likes the 15. Maybe he thinks we can get it at 17.
Yeah, that would be a steal.
That would be. It goes BYU tonight minus 18.5. Just a couple college games. We'll give you some more of his picks as we roll along. We'll wrap up our number one when we return. It is the halftime show. Wrapping up hour number 1 on a Football Friday. Tyler Head, Captain David Ayer, Bill Gunner, as we carry you through, and hopefully you've got big plans for the weekend. Maybe it's just all football. Maybe you're just going to – I hadn't really looked at the weather report tomorrow.
I think tomorrow's going to be like cloudy, about 80.
Okay.
I think there's some rain coming in late Sunday, but not a bad weekend.
Okay, maybe a good day tomorrow to hit the grill, maybe the smoker, maybe the Black's Not No old-timey meat market. You can go over there.
They got you.
Get some, yeah.
Or if you need a Traeger grill, they got you covered.
Yeah, go hit up. I know I know that the family over there, they are phenomenal, and I can tell you, first Friday I really have a chance to go and do that and do some grilling tomorrow. So maybe you want to do that and catch football. Maybe you go into a corn maze. Maybe you got a pumpkin patch. Maybe you're going to carve some pumpkins.
They have corn mazes around here?
I believe they got one in Lexington. I believe I know they got the scary, spooky farm out there close to where you live. They used to. I think it's still in full effect.
Okay, I was not aware of this.
Farms or something.
I have to look that up. My wife would be into that.
I think they still. We'll look that up during the break. But maybe you got something like that planned, or maybe you're just having a nice, relaxing Saturday. Well, one thing I'll offer for you, if you want to, last night, after all the great sports had subsided, I said, all right, I've seen golly, we've been inundated with Chad Powers promos, have we not?
Well, I feel like, because the show just came out this week, I've been seeing commercials for this thing for like 8 months.
Yeah. That also, I was a little stunned to learn, I think last week, that it was just about to come out.
Right.
And so last night, funny thing is, you get 43. And I've got the 2 kids. I got Ansley and Austin, and so I have everything. I have Disney. I have Netflix. I have Amazon Prime. I have Apple. I have the Disney. I have Hulu too. Well, I've never actually gone in and turned on the subscription to see what's on there.
Right.
So I had to do that. That took 15 minutes of my time last night trying to figure out
the password, and you got to figure out what your package is.
There was a whole deal with going to the Disney app where you have to go and you have to manage your subscriptions, and you have to actually activate the Hulu. Oh, okay. It was late at night too.
All right.
So anyway, so I was all right. Let's check this out. Let's be at the forefront here, and let's get into the Chad Powers thing. So if you want to, I'm not gonna, no spoilers. Although it's a show, it's not like. I don't know where this is going just yet.
Okay.
It's like I don't know what they're trying to go. Is it like a feel-good Ted Lasso type thing? Is it going to be like a Waterboy-ish type of comedy? It's an interesting little setup here with Glenn. What is it?
Glenn Powell.
Glenn Powell. Yeah. And so. Anyway, it's an interesting little setup. I'll just say this: the opening, and it explains how he gets to where he's kind of going, I guess, or what has occurred. I think you're either going to be like, man, that's actually really funny and cool,
sure,
or you're going to be like, yeah, that's a little over the top. I feel like people, if you want to watch it, I feel like you're going to decide whether this show is for you within the first 20 minutes or not.
So. I heard a podcast talking about this yesterday, and there's not a lot of college football represented in movies and TV and stuff that often, but they said it does a good job representing how the sport actually is. Have you gathered that so far?
2 episodes, no.
No? Okay.
No, they put out 2 episodes. I think the next one doesn't come out until next. I think it comes out next week, I believe. So little background on it. He goes to fictional South Georgia college.
Okay.
He starts out. I'll just give it. He starts out his college career. He's playing for Oregon, and that's where everything goes into shambles and,
right.
and it falls apart.
He's a disgraced college football player.
Yeah,
basically.
that's where it starts. And then he goes to South Georgia, which is kind of interesting. So I don't know where it's going to lead from there, but it's showing off the college football thing. There is there is kind of thing where they're talking about NIL and some stuff of that nature, but they haven't gone that far down the path on this. But I will say this: I would advise anybody that just wants something that looks like it might be funny, check it out.
Okay.
I've watched both episodes. I'll say check it out. I think it's one of those things that's going to be an episode by episode thing for me because it feels like it could go off the rails a little bit too quickly. And I'll just say this too, because of the way he's playing his character, I'm not sure whether I like the character or not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because his actual character is a cocky, arrogant guy. The Chad Powers character is not.
Okay.
There's your Chad Powers review. Hour 2 on the way. It is 1 o'clock on a Friday. That's right, October the 3rd. We are officially into spooky season. And Captain Dave, you were telling us it is Deceased Farms that is out in Lexington. That
Yeah, Old Farm Road out there.
Okay, so yeah, pumpkin patch. Is this the corn maze? I got to admit, I've never done a corn maze. I've never. I saw Barstool Sports. I was telling you about it. They did a big thing. There was a huge corn maze somewhere in the Midwest,
Right.
And one of their little gimmicky things that they do each and every night is they had one guy leading another guy. They blindfolded the second guy,
Right.
and one guy was leading the other guy through it, and they had to collect a key. They had to go find a key to unlock, I guess, some handcuffs, or it was something. But I watched a little bit of it, and it was one of the massive like corn mazes that they have kind of in the Midwest. I didn't know we had some of those around here.
Yeah, I did a corn maze years and years ago. I mean, it wasn't like a scary one. It's just you walk around and there's other things to do there. But I guess it's just the act of trying to find your way out. You know what I mean? I guess that's the appeal to it. But I've done it before. I haven't done it in a while. Maybe I'll check one out. Maybe this weekend.
Would you be frightened of doing I've never gotten into the horror movies of like being out in a cornfield and something. I'm sure maybe it would be spooky.
Sure.
But would you do a corn maze at night? Flashlight, and you got to find your way.
Now, is this a corn maze where there are people jumping out at you, or is it just you're being out there at night?
I mean, yeah, you just got to be out there at night and you got to get out. Kind of like what they did. Yeah, people jumping out at you is a whole other
that's a whole other layer to it. I'd be fine with that. Would I be alone or have somebody else with me?
If you're alone,
if you're alone, that makes it scarier.
Yeah.
Sure. If you got somebody else with you, you're like, we'll figure this out together.
Yeah, I mean, I say that because, like I said, I've never done a corn maze, and I don't know. I just wandering around for like a few hours. I don't know if that appeals to me, but if you try to put some fear behind it or something, I might be a little more interested. But
sure.
Hopefully you've got some plans for the weekend. Maybe it involves some college football. We'll get into the big picture for the weekend. Several good games coming up. We'll talk more about that. But kind of recapping last night, Yankees and Red Sox. That was kind of the centerpiece of a good sports night, I think, right?
Yeah.
That was elimination game in the Bronx. Yankees get an incredible pitching performance. They win 4-0. I think you said it. There's something about that series because of the rivalry, the dislike of each other, that makes that one stand out a little bit more than maybe trying to get into the Yankees-Blue Jays moving forward.
Yeah, and there's still the familiarity and rivalry aspect of that one, certainly. But again, Yankees-Red Sox is regarded as one of the best rivalries in all of sports. And when you add this is not the first time they played in the postseason before, but when you add the playoff element to that just makes it that much better. And obviously the three games were competitive, and I know the Yankees obviously went away with that one last night with the 4-0 victory, but still you're on the edge of your seat all the way through to the end of it, which was fun to see. And fun game fun series all around. All three series were fun. I know the Dodgers kind of ran away with it against the against the Reds, but the other two, Chicago, San Diego, and then Cleveland, Detroit, were also pretty fun as well, and kind of had you on the edge of your seat most of the way through.
And again, the divisional series will get going tomorrow. So you've got college football tomorrow. I mean, look, Tyler said it, I think, about when we started the week or about midway through the week. You love the month of October.
I do.
Because you got, you obviously, as I just said, tomorrow, if you want to get into the college football, you got great games there to choose from. If you want to get into Major League Baseball, Cubs, Brewers tomorrow at 2 o'clock. That game will be on TBS. At 4 o'clock on Fox, Yankees and Blue Jays. I'm rounding down, by the way. It's 4:08 if you want to get into it. But 6:38 tomorrow, Dodgers at the Phillies. That one might be at least flipping over early on.
Sure.
To see Shohei Ohtani pitching.
Yeah, he's obviously the attractions, had a good wild card series as well. And yeah, seeing a pitch in a playoff series is going to be interesting to watch. And again, we made our picks, I guess yesterday it was, for the teams that we think are going to make the World Series. And Dodgers are my pick, just because of how great that roster is. And yeah, we'll see how they navigate that starting tomorrow.
Yeah, that's worth that. That'll be on one of the TBS channel, TBS True TV, for the Dodgers and the Phillies. And again, maybe the attraction there is seeing early on Ohtani pitching there in the playoff game. Again, that'll be 6:38. And then tomorrow evening, 8:38, Detroit and Seattle. And you can, if you haven't seen it, that'll be on FS1. If you haven't seen him, you can check out Cal Raleigh, who is maybe the biggest hidden gem in all of America, regardless of sport right now. He's replacing Mike Trout, by the way.
He is, and there's that West Coast element of it, and the fact that he's on a team in the Mariners that don't always command the spotlight a lot, much like the Angels have for a long time with Mike Trout. And yeah, you've seen highlights, right? And his 60 home runs this year have been all over SportsCenter. But I imagine a lot of people haven't truly gotten to sit down and watch an actual Mariners game and see him play for the entirety of it. They'll get the opportunity to do that tomorrow. And again, they're my other team that I think is going to make the run to the World Series.
So you've got all of that going on. Also this weekend, NFL gets going, and I didn't get to talk about this yesterday. I got sick during the show, had to leave, and I think it was right about the time you were going to talk about it. All right, Shedeur Sanders, come on, man? Like, you can't. Don't lean into whom. Don't get upset with the perception of who you are, and then lean into it in the manner that he did this week by, miming?
Yes.
Basically, a press conference?
Because Dylan Gabriel got named the starter on Wednesday, I guess it was. And by the way, no third-string quarterback's ever been talked to as much as Shedeur Sanders. And I think it was Bruce Arians that said on the McAfee show this week, like, why are we talking to the third-string guy anyway? But regardless, we know why he's being talked to. And, they asked him, like, hey, what are your thoughts on Gabriel starting? So, and I talked about this yesterday. I think what he was trying to do was knowing that, hey, whatever I say is going to get used against me and twisted in some kind of way for headlines and clickbait and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say nothing. Now, the best route would have been to just give the most player-speak answer ever and say, hey, I'm working on myself, got to keep working harder, my opportunity is going to come eventually. But he went about miming it, right? Pretending to answer the question, but not saying anything, which, again, just reinforces, and I have no problem with Shedeur Sanders, and I think he's going to get his opportunity at some point and will probably be fine. But that continues to feed into all the people that want to be against him for all the headlines that he's already created in his very short NFL career.
No, that's the point. Like, truthfully, it has nothing to do with what he did. It is the fact of, like, have some self-awareness of your image.
Yes.
And what people are. And if you're trying to tone it down just a tad, just to you're going to get, you're right. He's going to probably get a start at some point. The Browns are the Browns, and Dylan Gabriel might have a great day tomorrow. Don't worry. Dylan Gabriel's going to fall apart. Like, Shedeur's going to get a start.
Because that happens to every quarterback. That's why that jersey has 100 names on it since 1999.
But don't feed into it, as they say, don't feed the trolls. Don't help out others who are already looking to knock your who you are and what kind of locker room presence you could be. But Shedeur Sanders, if you haven't seen it, it is, to his defense, he's right. Shedeur Sanders is I don't know what his future is, but he's got a great smile. He's got a great personality. Yeah, he's got an ego. That's polarizing. Fine. That's great when you have someone who's a little polarizing. He's got a career in something.
He does.
I don't know if it's football, but he's going to have a career in something. But if you look at him, he's smiling. He looks happy. He does it really, really well. You're just like, dude, come on. Like, people are just going to use this against you. Don't do that.
Yeah, and I don't know if he came up with the idea, if his dad told him to do that. I don't know where it came from. But, yes, the intentions of what he was trying to do, it was not taken that way, and it's not going to be taken that way because, again, there's a lot of people out there that want to see him fail, that are going to take every opportunity to pile on him as much as they already have, so far. And, people saying, oh, this is why he fell in the draft and all those kind of things. So yeah, don't, like you said, feed the trolls. Don't fan the flames any more than they're already being fanned because everybody's looking for an opportunity to be negative on you and continue to paint you in a bad light. And unfortunately, this gave them more ammo in that regard.
And just is like, look at him. But anyway, 803-404-6100. So we'll get into this hour, our big picture college football, go through the schedule, we'll give some of our picks. But coming up next, let's catch up with Chris Deering. It's going to be another great night of high school football across the state. Man, what a great time to get out and catch some games this evening. Maybe that's another thing you want to do tonight with no games tomorrow, no South Carolina game. Clemson's on the road. Maybe you want to go catch a great high school game. We'll give you a rundown of some great games taking place across the state coming up tonight. Chris Deering up next for the halftime show. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, Captain David Dare.
It's all right here for our friends over at Pro Swing Columbia. How's your swing looking when it comes to your golf game? Well, if you're struggling with it, you can go by and get some help. They are offering free 30-minute swing evaluations where they will quite literally give you a blueprint of your swing with a couple pointers and drills to work on as well. And while you're there, you may as well take your opportunity to play on some of those Golf Zone simulators, too, where you can play on courses all over the world. You can rent by the hour. They have memberships available as well. They're also a tailor-made dealer where you can check out what they have to offer there and get club fittings as well. You can take in all this great stuff and book online at proswingcolumbia.com. Or if you want more information, give them a call at 803-592-3916. They have locations out in Forest Acres as well as Chapin, our friends over at Pro Swing Columbia.
1:16 here as we roll along on a football Friday, getting you ready. Weather starting to feel great. A little breezy out there, but overall weather starting to feel good. It's going to feel like a phenomenal Friday night, and the man on the scene who's going to be all over the place is our good buddy Chris Deering, who joins us each and every Friday for the high school highlights of the week. And Mr. Deering, shaping up to be another phenomenal night across the state of South Carolina.
Yeah, quite a few big games across the state this week, Bill. And, you know, region play is pretty much starting for everybody now. We're in the final month of the season, and this is where you start separating teams a little bit. You know, I always call it sort of a three-part season where you got the non-region schedule. You learn a lot about your team. Then you get to the region play where you see the same teams year in and year out, and they know you as well as you know yourself. And then you get to the postseason, and so we're in that second phase now, and there should be a lot of good matchups across the state, right here in the Midlands, down in the Low Country as well, upstate. Everybody's got their own little section of good games this week, and it's going to be interesting to see how things turn out.
Let's go with the start with the game that you're going to. You said this could be the best game in the state tonight. You got to go down to the PD area. Loras is at Dillon. Now, I read the other day Dillon has I was going to say a true freshman quarterback. He's in high school. But a freshman quarterback who already has 2 or 3 offers. I can't remember his name. I think it was Gamecock Central wrote an article about him. But give us a little lowdown here on Loras and Dillon and this freshman quarterback for Dillon.
So I'm going to be honest. You're exactly right. He's a phenomenal player. He's actually our number 1 ranked player on Prep Red Zone in the 2029 class. But I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his name because I would butcher it. I wouldn't even come close. I hope to get a little better understanding of how you say it tonight going to Dillon. But he's 6'1", 205, freshman at Dillon. He's really good. He looks the part. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards right now, I think. He's got a top receiver that's going to North Carolina that's really good. So that Dillon team, you know, they're 3-2, and that's unusual for Dillon at this stage of the season, but they're still a contender. I don't think anybody's counting Dillon out. They're playing a Loras team that's got they're seasoned. They're veterans. This team's been together for a number of years. They got a quarterback in Moon Gerald that's really good. He's a senior this year, so talented Loras team coming to town. Yeah, I got to make that drive down 20 and then up 95 a little bit, but looking forward to being that game at that game. I think in our latest rankings for the Prep Writers poll, Loras was number 5. Dillon was number 7 in 3A. So, yeah, that's going to be an entertaining game all the way around. Only my second trip to Dillon, so looking forward to making that drive.
Let's talk about South Point and Camden up next as they'll be engaged in a region play, and South Point has dominated the first 2 opponents in region, outscoring them a total of 104-15, and Camden coming in after the win against AC Flora last time out.
Yeah, Camden's really good. You know, they got a quarterback in Grayson Rimp. He set a school record a couple weeks ago for touchdown passes in a game. But they're playing a South Point team that, you know, I saw them against AC Flora earlier this year. They are talented. Javon Currents, the South Carolina commit, he's playing both ways. You know, he's settling into the quarterback position. He's a defensive back by nature, and he's really good there. He actually had an interception against AC Flora. That was Roper Lewinsky's only pick he's thrown this season so far. So he had a pick in that game, and he played well at quarterback. And, you know, I asked him afterwards, how does he like it? He says, well, I'm still learning. But it's coming along pretty well. And he's good. I mean, there's no question about it. And he's going to be a challenge for that Camden defense. But Camden's got a kid, Tyler Drakeford. He plays both ways as well. A really good receiver. I looked at his numbers yesterday. He's got 8 rushes for 193 yards. And that's pretty decent average. About 25, 26 catches on the year. Really good defensive back. So that's going to be an entertaining game between two teams that, you know, historically make deep runs in the playoffs. And Zip Stadium is one of the more historic places here in the state to play. So I'm sure they'll pack it out in Camden tonight and have a good showing.
Let's talk about two teams, 3-2 on the season, that'll face off. Strawn Thurman tonight, traveling to Batesburg, Leesville.
Yeah, this is the early region test for these two teams. I think both of them probably thought they would have a little bit better record coming in at this point. But I don't think either one of these teams are out of the conversation as far as the postseason goes. I was talking to a couple writers earlier this week. Class 2A has been the hardest one to vote for this year because teams are getting beat. Teams are winning that we didn't expect to win. So that one's sort of been the hardest classification to vote in this year. But I think this Batesburg team, they got a lot to prove. Their running back, Amagre Wooden, he's coming off back-to-back 200-yard games. He's playing a little bit of a chip on his shoulder from what I've been told this week. He didn't make the North-South game. He didn't make the Shrine Bowl game. I mean, he rushed for 2,000 yards last season. So he's probably got something to prove tonight against a Strawn Thurman team that lost a team out of Georgia last week. But, again, really talented, really deep as well. And, again, that's small-town football. That's going to be a packed-out house. And I expect that game to go down to the wire.
Talking high school football, the guy Chris Deering here on the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. Let's take a look at River Bluff, who's coming in off of a bye, going on the road, taking on White Knoll, who dropped their Week 1 game to Camden and then has pretty much dominated everybody since then.
Yeah, White Knoll is a team I've said, again, talking to another writer earlier this week, I said White Knoll is a team that, you lost that season opener, but then they've taken care of business since then and done it in like a business-like fashion. And I like that team a lot. I've not seen them yet this year. I hope to see them here in the next couple of weeks. But they got talent. That Tyon Fanning, a junior running back, he's been starting since he was a freshman. Caleb Geronimi, he's fantastic. He's a Richmond Spider commit. And I like this White Knoll team just from what I can gather off of watching some film and stuff. And so looking forward to seeing them. But they get River Bluff at home tonight. I have seen the Gators. Darius Carter is one of the better receivers, not just in the Midlands, but in the state. He's a junior. This game is going to go a long ways to determine who might challenge Dutch Fork in that region, Dutch Fork and Irmo, that is. Because both of those teams, I think, are a little bit ahead of everybody else right now. And we'll see who might be third in that pecking order in this game tonight.
Real quick, staying in that particular region, you have the Dam battle. One time was a big-time game. Lexington and Irmo, obviously separated by the Lake Murray Dam. Irmo rolling this season. No drop-off after the loss of quarterback A.J. Brand.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a surprise. I think everybody knew Irmo was loaded coming into this year. Probably one of the better junior classes in the entire state. Jaden Bryant, the defensive end, I see he's visiting Florida State tomorrow. So Irmo's just talented. And I think the biggest difference for them, you talk about the quarterback position, Trayvon Dobson has come in and played really well. He's not A.J. Brand. I don't think anybody could have replaced A.J. Brand in the numbers he put up. But Trayvon Dobson's played really well in the first 5 games this year. And I think that's been the key to that Irmo success. And they can be good defensively. They're deep. They're big. They're talented. And then Lexington's coming in, 2-3. They've had to bring in a freshman at quarterback, Easton Crocker. He's played well. But maybe not the depth and the ability that Irmo has right now. But Bill, you talked about how this game used to. I remember back in the 90s when I first started doing this. Man, that was the biggest game of the year. It seemed like every year in and year out. But maybe a little bit of luster gone from that game now. But it still should be a good crowd out there at Lexington tonight.
Yes, as old alumni, we still hold that game near and dear in our heart. Let me get to one more here for him. 2 5-0 teams is what I see here. Orangeburg Wilkinson taking on Fox Creek tonight.
Yeah, so Orangeburg Wilkinson is a team that I'm very intrigued by. One of their wins was by a forfeit. Hemingway ended up not fielding a team this year, but they've only allowed 14 points all season, and that was against Keenan a couple of weeks ago. Every other game's been a shutout. They do step up in competition a little bit tonight against Fox Creek. Again, Fox Creek is a team in that Aiken area that maybe don't get the coverage that everybody else does across the state, but they're really good. I saw them in the preseason thing last year, and they were young, and I know they took some lumps last season, but they're good this year. That's not a region game yet. That's still non-region for those two teams, but it'd be interesting to see how that OW team plays against a 5-0 Fox Creek team, because again, you played 4 games and giving up 14 points. That's pretty stout. I don't care who you're playing against.
Last one for you here, heading out to Low Country. Big matchup between Berkeley and Stratford. Berkeley hasn't allowed any points in the last month, and Stratford come in riding a 4-game winning streak and off a bye as well.
Yeah, that's two of the better quarterbacks in that area you'll see in that game tonight. Jason Davis, the quarterback of Stratford, he's a 4-year starter. He made the Shrine Bowl that was announced last Sunday against Henry Rivers. He's a junior, a 3-year starter. That one, both of those teams have played Summerville, and they both lost to Summerville. I think the Stratford score was 35-30, and I think Berkeley lost 35-20. So, pretty similar. And that when Berkeley played Summerville, they did not have Rivers in that game. So it'll be interesting to see how this game turns out. Obviously, y'all know I'm going to have my attention down there a little bit as well on that one. I have somebody that gives me updates every time there's a score change in a Berkeley game. So I have my eye on that one. But I think those two are the top teams in that region, 7-5A, and I think that's going to be a big one. Whoever wins this one is obviously in the driver's seat for the region title. And I say that when last year Cane Bay came into the region schedule without a win, and they ended up winning the region. So anything can happen this time of year, but I think Berkeley and Stratford are a little bit above everybody else in that region right now.
Chris, always appreciate it. Got some travel ahead of you tonight there for Loris and Dillon, so safe travels, and we look forward to catching up with you next Friday to recap everything and look ahead to another great night of high school sports.
Sounds good, you guys. Have a great weekend, and talk to you later.
Take care. Chris Deering joining us as he does each and every week for the high school highlights of the week. Again, he will be heading down to Loris and Dillon tonight, but you can follow him on Twitter at cdeering82 is the way to do that. That's cdeering, DEARING 82 is the way you can follow him for any great updates. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We will look at big picture college football and go through some of the games tomorrow and give our thoughts and picks on them. You're listening to Tyler Head, Captain David Dare, Bill Gunner. It is the Halftime Show. Thank you again to Chris Deering for joining us there to give us a rundown of tonight's high school action. Tell you what, man, there's just nothing better than high school football in this state in the month of October, November. The weather starts to turn a little bit, and you get out and you be a part of the community and all the administrators, the cheerleaders, the band members, the parents, the concession workers, just everything that makes high school football go, Tyler. And tonight's going to be another great night for that.
I got behind, this was 2-3 weeks ago, coming home on a Friday afternoon, coming through downtown Lexington. I don't know what game they were going to, but I got behind it was literally students in the bed of a truck on the way to a high school football game, and it just kind of gave me like that instant nostalgia of like, I miss those days. Like, we still have the opportunity to go and stuff like that, but when you're in high school, going to the games, it's the social event of the week, hanging out with friends, meeting people, all that kind of stuff. I definitely miss those days. Those were pretty fun.
Yeah, man. It's and again, if you get behind a truck in Lexington, going to a game, you got transported back about 25 years to when there was a lot of trucks out in Lexington, and we would all go to the games. 803-404-6100. Again, good luck tonight to get everybody involved. There's so many great people that get involved in those, again, whether it's concession stand workers who serve the hot dogs, whether it's the cheerleaders, whether it's the band members or the football players themselves, the trainers. It's going to be a fun night. So look forward to that. 803-404-6100. Let's go through some games here and make a few picks for tomorrow's game. Let's start here. Now, I'm going to do this one via the spread. I'm going to go with ESPN Bet.
Okay.
Noon game in Athens. Georgia's coming off of the loss to Alabama. I don't know if there's a hangover. Kentucky, we now know, is right there with probably Arkansas for one of the two worst teams in the league. I don't think there's a chance for the upset, but does Georgia cover the 19.5?
So I believe Zach Calzada is going to be starting for Kentucky once again, and my goodness, I still feel bad for what Carolina did to Cutter Boley last week. But the interesting thing about this, and Kirby Smart, I've listened to a couple of his things this week talking about Mark Stoops. He constantly praises Stoops. They're good friends about, his defensive tenacity and the kind of physicality that his teams play with all the time. And Georgia has always had problems with Kentucky. In fact, they've only covered the spread once in the last 6 games they played against them. So 20.5, that's a big number. And for whatever reason, Georgia under Kirby Smart can always play up to good opponents. They played a 3-point game last week against Alabama. They went on the road and won the overtime game with 44 points against Tennessee a couple weeks ago. This, to me, screams like a classic, 24-10, 27-13 game that you never feel like Georgia's going to lose, but they don't really pull away either. So I feel like Kentucky could definitely cover this spread.
Yeah, noon game, the hangover, I think, will be real in Athens. Don't be surprised, Jeff, you look at halftime and it's something like 10-7, 13-10. There's been some turnovers.
Georgia escaped a 1-point win against a 4-8 Kentucky team last year in Lexington.
I'm with you. So we both take Kentucky to cover?
Yeah.
All right. Gunner and Tyler taking Kentucky there. So I'll write that down so we can keep ourselves honest here. Let's go to the one team, I was going to say the one team in state playing, but Clemson tomorrow. All right. They go to North Carolina. Good grief. Clemson's a 13.5-point favorite. What are you taking? Where are you going with this?
Clemson should cover this one because if they win the game by less than 2 touchdowns, that fan base isn't going to feel any better about this because of how bad North Carolina is. That being said, Clemson has not played a full 4 quarters of football yet this year. They played at least one bad half in every single game. So North Carolina could be leading them at halftime, but I think North Carolina is so bad, Clemson should be able to cover this.
I'm really interested to see Clemson come out tomorrow. Normally, I can't say that I'm fired up to flip on and watch a Clemson game. How do they respond off of the bye week?
Right.
And what did they look like? Because obviously sitting at 1-3, you start going down that Clemson schedule, it could get out of hand kind of quickly here over the next few weeks. Yeah, you get Boston College next week on the road, but then SMU, I don't know what to make of Duke, Florida State, Louisville, obviously that South Carolina game's the end. That could be a wild scenario, but I'm interested to see how they play.
Yeah.
I think they cover. I think this is going to be a very ugly game. I think I had like 27-7. They covered the spread.
I know I've talked about this on the other shows this week. Are you aware of the Ludacris thing happening tomorrow?
Yeah,
you aware of this?
What? And he's got to perform early now
Yes.
or something.
So I'm assuming this deal was done a while ago where he was going to perform for the Clemson game, or I'm assuming they thought this was going to be a night game because, oh, hey, Clemson's
Right.
coming in, undefeated or one loss or something like that. And North Carolina will probably be pretty decent, but it's a noon game on ESPN. And the way this works is he has to perform 2.5 hours before kickoff.
Oh, dear Lord.
So he'll be performing at 9:45 in the morning tomorrow. I don't know where this is going to be at, near the stadium, around the stadium, or whatever. But yes, I don't think that was in the plans when they made this deal. And I would be willing to bet this is the earliest Ludacris has ever performed for anything ever in his professional career at 9:45 in the morning in Chapel Hill.
Be interested to see how he handles tonight, the Friday night there in Chapel Hill. 3:30. Let's go to 3:30. Texas traveling to Florida to take on the Gators. Brian Edwards, earlier, I was a little surprised. He liked the Gators. I think he liked the Gators. I think he was taking, he said 7. He said plus the 7, but line down to 5.5. Arch Manning and DJ Lagway.
Florida's defense is actually pretty good. We've talked so much about how inept their offense is with Lagway throwing 5 interceptions against LSU, but they were still in both the LSU and Miami games late because of the way their defense plays. And let's be honest, the last time Texas played a quality opponent, Ohio State, it didn't look great offensively.
Right.
Now, is it a situation where Texas, like Alabama, has gotten better in the past couple weeks playing nobodies and they go out there and put 50 points on Florida? Maybe. But at the same time, it could just be, hey, maybe Texas isn't that great offensively and Arch Manning isn't as special as we thought he was. And, they squeak out a 17-14 win or something like that. I could see a way where Florida covers the spread in this game.
What is the atmosphere in the Swamp? 3:30 game, but it feels like are Florida fans still even invested?
I know Elijah and Preston took a spin on Message Board Mayhem this morning where there are Florida fans actually rooting against,
Right,
rooting against their own
saying.
team because, again, they just want Billy gone. And if Texas came in and dropped 50 on them and they lost, 52-10, he could be fired by Sunday afternoon, which I think everybody would be in favor of. So you're almost kind of cheering for this if you're a Florida fan because if Florida won and they kept Napier around for longer, you still don't have belief that he's going to turn this thing
Right.
around, right? He's a 500 coach and will continue to be a 500 coach regardless of if they win this game or not. So I think the mood is probably like, all right, we're here, we're excited, it's a big game, big helmet matchup with Texas, but like if they win, that would cure a lot of our issues with Billy Napier. So maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
So you going Florida to cover?
You know what? Yeah, give me Florida to cover because I do
Okay.
think that I'm just not sold on Texas yet. And maybe they'll surprise me tomorrow and I'll change my attitude, but I just haven't seen enough of them against good competition to know yet.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the 3:30, the big 3:30 game, Alabama and Vanderbilt at Bryant-Denny.
10.5.
10.5.
Talked about earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, and my big thing for this game is Vanderbilt loves to run the football, as we saw against Carolina. Alabama's given up 230 yards against Florida State and 227 on the ground against Georgia. Vanderbilt's going to be able to run the ball. Vanderbilt's going to be able to control the clock, much like Alabama can do too. I don't think a lot of points are getting scored in this one, so I think it's a low-scoring game, and
Okay.
I don't know if Vanderbilt wins, but they make it close in the end at least, so I will take them to cover.
I feel like it's a sucker bet. I'm gonna put on my wagering cap here. I'm taking Bama. I think Bama's starting to play really well.
Okay.
I think this gets to Vanderbilt a little bit finally, and I think Ty Simpson has a big day. All right, let's go to the big one tomorrow night over in Tallahassee, Miami and Florida State. Florida State, you had one job. You had one singular job. Go to Charlottesville and win the game. They don't do it. Now they're a 4.5-point underdog tomorrow night against the Canes.
Oh, man. And this game being in Tallahassee, I go back and forth on it. Miami's looked really good, man, through the first couple weeks of the season. Got some quality wins in there as well. Was that 4.5?
4.5.
4.5. I could see Miami winning by a touchdown,
Okay.
but I think it's tight all the way through.
So you're going Miami.
Yes.
All right, I'm calling the upset. Or maybe it's an upset. Our resident Miami fan, Chris, weighs in, says, not sure FSU has trench bullies to hang with Miami. Look, I think Florida State is at home. I think they overlooked Virginia last week. I think Florida State gets the job done. I'm hoping for one of those raucous, over the top Miami Florida State games. I want to see just as many punches as penalty flags thrown. I want to see like meeting at midfield when they spike the spear into the ground and it's flame. I want to see all of it. I want to take me back to the 90s. Maybe let this thing end on a field goal, but I'm going to take Florida State. I think Florida State gets the job done tomorrow night and throws the College World Playoff into a little bit more of a loop, because then you go, well, hey,
Yeah.
Florida State's won, lost Virginia. We can maybe shrug that off.
That'd be
They've
fun.
got wins over Bama and Miami. 803-404-6100. We'll come back, get back into a little bit of baseball just for a second, because I think there's a new challenge that's been taking place all year.
Okay.
And now one of the teams is selling this. I'll explain it when we come back. You're listening to the Halftime Show.
Yoshida will take second. This one is popped up. McMahon. And the Yankees have completed step one on their way back to a World Series.
That was the call last night as the Yankees knock off the Red Sox. Fun series. Fun little series, and now it advances on to the Yankees advance on to take on the Blue Jays as everything will get going tomorrow. Major League Baseball. You got it again. Tyler, it's going to be a great weekend. We've done this hour alone. We've talked high school football. That's going to be a lot of fun tonight. You got the college game. We just went through some of the games there for the weekend, made some of our picks, and you got Major League Baseball tomorrow.
Yeah, no, we're getting to the best time of the year, and again, there's nothing better than postseason baseball because everything's on the line. And obviously had the elimination games yesterday, and now we get to see the teams that have been sitting on the byes for a couple days. And it's always interesting to see what teams benefit more from either playing consecutive games or having a couple days off. I don't know. Did you see that Ichiro suited up for the Mariners in their little scrimmage the other day?
Oh, I didn't know.
Because a lot of teams, to kind of keep the trend going, instead of saying, hey, we're going to have 4 or 5 days off, they just keep playing scrimmage games against each other. And apparently Ichiro suited up and went. I've never seen him out of a baseball uniform since he retired, I feel like. So yeah, he was out there playing the outfield in one of their scrimmages.
I didn't see that, but I did hear about that, what you're referring to as teams having some scrimmages. One of those teams was the Phillies.
Yep.
And I think they opened it up and had a pretty solid crowd for one of the games. And speaking of solid crowds, so it feels like this took hold this year. And I would say of these fan bases, the Yankees fan base is going to be a little rowdy, a little raucous. Philly fan, when I say like over the top, Philly fans will probably be right there next to them. Would you agree with that? Maybe worse than Dodgers. Probably, I don't see the Mariners, the Brewers fans being over the top.
Philly sports fans in general are their own breed, and when they have a good team to cheer for, it kind of takes to another level. And look, it's a fun time to be a Philadelphia sports fan with what the Eagles are doing and everything like that. So yeah, they're going to be among the rowdier ones of what's left.
Well, now at First Citizens Park they're offering the new challenge. Now, have you seen the new challenge for the year, Citizens Bank Park?
Yes, I came across this earlier, which I'm surprised they're the first ones to do this.
Yeah, well, I've been seeing it in minor league games. I'll go back. I saw Barstool was part of one of these at a minor league game. If you haven't heard of the new challenge, and I'm not advocating this, although I will admit if my health was better and I could do it, I would give it a try. I'm pretty sure I would fail. It is the 999 challenge.
Yes.
803-404-6100. Would you do this at a baseball game? The 999 challenge. 803-404-6100. In 9 innings, you have to have 9 hot dogs, 9 beers, and you have to do it in 9 innings.
Yes. Now, this trend's been around for a while.
Okay.
It's, it's a TikTok thing or whatever, video streaming or video sharing platform you like to watch on. So they've been doing this for a while. This is the first instance I've seen of it all packaged together, where they sell you a box that has the 9 hot dogs and the 9 beers in it. But I've seen a lot of people bring up the point. The beers will eventually get warm.
That's part of it. You got to move a little bit here.
Because when I see people do this on like YouTube or whatever, it's like, all right, they go and buy like 3 dogs and 3 beers, eat those, then go buy the next one. So you're getting warm hot dogs and cold beers because again, you got to pace yourself here. This is over 9 innings for a reason. By the time you get to that like 4th and 5th beer, they're probably going to be pretty warm. And, drinking a warm beer is a little different than drinking a cold one. And that may make it a little bit harder to get through the challenge, I feel like.
803-404-6100. Would you participate in the Phillies? Now, you don't win a prize. At least I haven't seen where if you win, if you get it done, you win a prize. But the 999 challenge, because you're right, there's 2 different ways. Most people have just been doing this where you got to eat 9 hot dogs and have 9 beers in a game. And obviously, if the beers continuously are cold, okay, you're okay there.
Sure.
The Phillies, if you haven't seen it, there's a picture here, and it is, as you would expect, it is a big tray. It says the 999 challenge, and it's got 9 dogs in there, and then 9 beers, and a kind of big tray. I don't know how big I can't tell from the picture, and the article I read I did not ever see how many ounces were in the beers.
Well, the cups only look about half full, and I don't know how deep they are into those little pockets that they're sitting in, but I would be, because it's there's a can of beer next to it. So I'm willing to think that's not a full can of beer that they're selling to you here. So that might make the challenge a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I would assume it's not one beer, but and then you spread it out over 9. But the 999 challenge, 803-404-6100. You can look that up. Would you partake in the 9 beers? You got to finish it all. 9 dogs, 9 beers, and you got 9 innings to get it done.
Right.
Does it sound easy, and then you get into it?
Oh, it definitely sounds hard. I mean, just
sounds hard.
Eating one hot dog and drinking a beer already has you feeling some kind of way at a baseball game. So I can't imagine 9.
We'll come back. Hour 3 on the way. We'll get into more big picture college football. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Final hour of the week, and then we're going to enjoy our bye week. Tyler Head, Bill Gunner, Captain David there. That's right. Big plans? Big plans? You get now you know about a corn maze?
Yeah. I'll bring that up to my wife tonight. She'll probably be interested in doing that. So figuring out the right time to do that this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, that's probably the extent of what we're probably going to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I like being at home. You know what I mean?
I
Especially when
understand.
you got sports on TV. Like, I'm not hey, let's go get out and do something all the time type of person.
Well, and you've had to do the pregame show, so that means you're normally at Jay's corner. Maybe you got to be at the obviously the press box, and if it's an away game, you got to be somewhere. So, yep. So I understand you finally having a Saturday just to enjoy your household, your refrigerator, your utilities around the house. Not have to go and cater to anybody else.
Yeah, this might be one of the final nice weather weekends we get, so you do want to get out and enjoy that a little bit. So I'll try and maybe work in a corn maze or something at some point.
There you go. Maybe Sunday, get it done in the early section. We haven't talked to NFL. We didn't go through that schedule. We might try and do that coming up this hour. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. We've covered a lot of topics today. Brian Edwards with Vegas Insider joining us early. He gave his picks. We gave our picks, just a couple games here that we ran down. Kentucky and Georgia. Georgia, 19.5 point favorite. Both Tyler and I take Kentucky to cover the spread. Clemson and North Carolina. Clemson, a 13.5 point favorite. We both took Clemson to cover that spread. I think that game's going to be ugly.
Probably.
I think it's just going to be. I don't know if Clemson invested. North Carolina's awful. It's just.
I don't think Clemson fans feel any better coming out of this with a win unless it's like 56-3, which I don't see happening. I just think it's an ugly slog of a game where both teams just aren't where they need to be.
Let me just look. Does Midnight Madness? I'm just looking, or does North Carolina have any kind of basketball event taking place this coming weekend? Because the game's at noon.
Yeah.
And so I'm almost just trying to glance real quick to see if North Carolina's got any kind of open practice scheduled where fans are like, all right, we'll go hit the half of the football game before we go check out the basketball team. I don't see anything, but I'm kind of.
I don't think you're going to have the same amount of celebrity attending this game as you had in week number 1 against TCU.
No.
I don't think Michael Jordan's making his way to this game.
No, Lawrence Taylor won't be there. I highly doubt a lot of people will. So, but from what I can tell, let's look real quick. Kansas, they got a Duke. Duke has got one tonight. Just kind of glancing. Duke's countdown to craziness is tonight. Let's see. Kentucky's Big Blue Madness is next Saturday. So hopefully Kentucky's got a bye week in football.
So I was going to say they're going to care about football for all of one more week in Lexington.
I don't see anything. I see Michigan State, Kentucky, Duke. I don't see anything on North Carolina. 803-404-6100. Speaking of basketball, yesterday you had Jeff Goodman on, and we're getting closer. Basketball season is upon us. Last night, Lamont Paris was on Carolina Calls with Derek Scott as he had a chance to talk more about his basketball team. But Jeff Goodman yesterday talking about what he saw when he was in town this past weekend. What stood out to you?
Yeah, we talked a lot about the experience of the team, and that was obviously something that, goes back to 2 seasons ago when they made the NCAA tournament and all those guys had just played a ton of basketball, and that's something that Coach Paris brought up when we talked to him the prior Thursday, is how experienced this team was and how excited he was for that. And, I also asked him about, or we were talking about freshmen. He talked about Eli Ellis, who, again, in practice looks like he's the part. And, again, everybody's interested in seeing what he's going to be because we've been following that kid for several years now, waiting on him to get here to South Carolina and really take the court. So excited to see him, the development of Cam Scott. And, he talked about anybody coming in as a freshman, regardless of how highly talented you are, you're going to have your growing pains and learning opportunities in the SEC. And that's kind of what he chalked up some of Cam Scott's problems last year were. But again, like Coach Paris said last week, he's very excited about what he's seen out of him so far this offseason, and he's going to get his opportunity to shine this year, because of how fresh this roster is and all the new names coming in. And again, like we talked about last week, it's going to be a really important year for Coach Parrish to go out there and prove this team can get things back on track after a disappointment a season ago.
You talked about comparing Cam Scott to last year. Well, here is Lamont Paris last night. Carolina calls. Again, he was filling in for Shane Beamer. Derek Scott taking over for Todd Ellis. And here is Lamont Paris last night comparing this year's team to his version last year.
Well, I think some of the differences, I would say we have more versatility in terms of just how many guys can, if you break the team down to just guards and forwards, basically, we have more guys that can go back and forth between those two things, just more players that can play multiple positions. So I would say versatility. I would say overall experience. Not that we were completely inexperienced last year, but we have significantly more experience this year. We have 5 guys who already have or should break the 1,000-point scored mark in their career. So it's just guys that have been around the game more. They've played more games. So I would say that. And I would say skilled group. It's a relatively skilled group. If you think back to 2 years ago, it probably has a lot of the similarities of that group, just in terms of having guys like a B.J. Mack, for example, that could do a lot of different things, stretch the floor, play around the basket. He was a good passer. You could run offense through him. Probably more guys that are similar to that. But I'd say those would be the things: experienced, versatile, and skilled.
From what I know, from doing a little research about this team and the transfers they brought in to go along with the freshmen, we'll talk about the freshmen in just a minute. I agree with him. It is a skilled group. I'm not trying to tell anybody that they are in the top half of the league in terms of talent. I'm not even sure they're in the top. Really the top. I'm not sure where the talent is, I guess is what I should say on that before I put my foot in my mouth. But what I do think is that he does have a skilled, veteran, high IQ group.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of looking at a projection of the starting lineup here, and it's all experienced guys that are either, returning for the program for another year, like Studi and Michi Johnson coming back, or some of these guys that brought in from the transfer portal, like Mongolian Mike and Chris Isendoko, I believe is the correct way to pronounce it. So your projected starting fives can be a very experienced group where, again, they didn't go out there and make like the big splash land in the transfer portal, but much like 2 seasons ago, you got a lot of guys that have experience, have played a lot of basketball, that you hope it just gels together well, because that's what that team 2 years ago did so well. Is nobody was a superstar, but they all played their roles very well, and that's why that team had the success that it did. And again, Coach Parrish is going to be excited about every single team going in every single year. He's not going to sit there on Carolina calls and say we're going to be awful and we're going to be trash. Like, you're going to have to see it to believe it. But given the amount of experience they have going into this year, you'd like to think that it's going to be hopefully something like you had a couple seasons ago.
So that's the veterans, and obviously you get a guy like Michi Johnson back. You've got other guys that come in via the transfer portal that are, again, we just talked about veterans, and that's a big deal. But South Carolina also brought in 5 freshmen. Now, it's highlighted by Eli Ellis, who is going to be expected to be a key or integral part of this team right off the bat. But 5 different freshmen, and here is Lamont Paris last night talking about his freshmen and how he sees them.
I hate to ever use the word surprise. Sure. I think you associate some sort of expectation if you're surprised at someone, but I am surprised at his consistency, not in that, just in that he's a young person. And freshmen coming in have been having a good day here and there forever.
Right.
But to have consistently good days and stack them one after another, that's unique. And part of it for him, I think that helps him, is that his biggest strength is that no one on our team plays harder. I mean, that's just a fact. I joke around about it. He plays so hard that his breathing is somewhat uncontrollable at times. I mean, God bless him. You got to love a guy that plays that hard. And because of that, he doesn't flip a switch to do it. That's just who he is. Yeah. That's how he plays. That's how he goes about everything. And so that's really helped him. But he's been really good. But all of our freshmen have a real good grasp, particularly the 3 that came from Moravian, the 2 that you mentioned, and then Abu Yarma also played at the same program. And so because I've been to their practices before, they came in as, a little older than freshmen. Mm-hmm. They were a little more accustomed to what college work was going to look like and how hard you had to play.
The guy he was initially talking about when that clip started was Hayden Simeon, who he is praising, and a lot of kind of feedback so far is that Simeon will have a role on this team. You heard what Lamont Ferris had to say. A lot of that role could be as kind of that glue guy, that high energy guy that has just physical traits that can get him through while he learns playing college basketball.
Yeah, and again, all good things you like to hear, and again, a lot of freshmen to be excited about to add to this group of group of experienced guys. And again, we'll find out a month from tomorrow what this group's got, and hopefully it's something to be competitive in the SEC.
803-404-6100. So we'll continue to monitor them as we move forward. Basketball season just a little more than a month away. November the 4th. That'll be a Tuesday when the Gamecocks get things going. But we'll come back, get back into football. We'll take a little big picture look around some surprises, September surprises. What really caught our attention? We'll tell you about that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. 2:16 as we roll along, getting you set for the post-game show coming up with Jay Phillips and Terry Ford this afternoon.
I think it's just Jay today.
Just Jay?
Terry, I think, is attending Parents Weekend
Oh, boy.
for his son.
Okay. All right. So just Jay Phillips today. So that's coming up after us, 3 to 6 today. So continue to hang around. We'll carry you through the rest of the afternoon. Also want to remind you, go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals. Purchase your craft beer card today, just $59. That's a savings of around $300. Again, all you got to do is go to 1075thegame.com, click on Sweet Deals, and purchase your craft beer card. $59. So you can get a nice craft beer, go enjoy the weather over the next few weeks, and enjoy getting a discount. Very
For sure.
nice.
Definitely.
803-404-6100 if you hear anything you want to weigh in on. So we officially today, we wrap up the month of September. I know we're on October 3rd, but we officially wrap up football in September. So Tyler Head, give me your 3 biggest surprises that you take away from September.
Honestly, I'm surprised Clemson is as poor as they've looked through the first month, because I really expected them to be really, really good this season. I'm surprised, and again, he's only played one game against stiff competition. I'm surprised Arch Manning looked as bad as he did against Ohio State. And again, we'll find out tomorrow if that's just a one-game thing or if that's more of a trend as they take on a pretty good Florida defense. And I'll go back to, I don't think you were here for this yesterday, but I gave Jeff Levy my September Coach of the Year, because I'm very, very surprised with how much better Mississippi State's gotten from last year. And look, we thought it was going to be a long rebuild. Levy had a lot on his plate to try and work with. But, man, they've come out of the gates firing and very well could be undefeated. Just came up short against Tennessee last week. And as we talked about with Brian Edwards earlier, I like their chances against A&M tomorrow.
We didn't pick that.
Maybe I was talking to somebody else about that earlier, but either way.
We didn't. Well, Brian Edwards did. You and I didn't pick that game when we were doing our thing. It's, as we mentioned, it's a 15.5-point spread, and he said buy it up to 17. You going with the upset there?
I like their chances. I will say I think it's going to be a competitive game. It is in College Station, so that's always going to be tricky. But man, they've impressed me a lot early on this season.
See, I got Mississippi State. Excuse me, I got A&M. I got a Mike Elko special.
Okay,
just defense, a lot of blitzing. Get in there. And Marcel Reed doing.
It's a very bland game.
Yeah,
that doesn't pop off the page at you like last week.
Winning. Marcel Reed doesn't get the credit he gets. He had that 360-yard passing game against Notre Dame.
He's looking good.
And doesn't get that. So there's Tyler's 3 kind of surprises so far. Mine, well, number 1 would be North Carolina. I didn't know what to expect from Bill Belichick. Did we know? How surprised are we that it's this bad? I don't know if people realize how bad it is. Like, that TCU game took so much of the wind out of the sails of the Bill Belichick era, and they get clobbered, right? I mean, they get absolutely smoked. Well, are people aware that they also got just bludgeoned by Central Florida, 2 weeks ago, 34-9?
I see. I think people had stopped caring by that point because we were so interested in the week 1 game against TCU because, like, oh, man, all this offseason conversation, the drama at North Carolina, what's this going to look like? And outside of that first drive, they looked like they didn't belong in the same, division of football as TCU. So, yeah, it's like, not that Bill Belichick was going to come in and suddenly turn UNC into a playoff caliber team or something like that, but I think we expected them to be competitive. And in the 2 games they played against quality competition, they beat Richmond. They squeaked by Charlotte a couple weeks ago. They just haven't been that. Like they again have not been anywhere close to TCU and UCF. So I don't think we expected it to be this ugly and this bad.
That's number 1 to me, and tomorrow it could grow even a little bit more. So that's number 1. Number 2 to me would be the return. I might have to come back to this on Monday, but the return of Alabama.
Okay.
Count me in. I was ready to write them off. I was ready to send them, ship them off fishing, whatever it is. Hey, that dynasty, whatever's done. Galen DeBoer saves face, beats Georgia, beat them in Athens. That's what stands out to me. Not that they beat Georgia, but beat them in Athens in a night game. Now you get Vanderbilt, but Ty Simpson looks like a Heisman contender. I tomorrow. Yeah, it's Vanderbilt, but it's kind of do or die. But the fact that Alabama now looks like a legitimate national title contender again to me, okay, I'm a little, count me as surprised.
Well, and it's interesting because, and look, a lot of Alabama fans do this because of their affinity for the team and what Coach Saban did. But ever since Kalen DeBoer got there, we've all been waiting for the aha. So now it's come off the rails, like, aha, the dynasty truly is dead type of thing. And, last year by their standards was definitely a step back. And there were games that looked dominant, like against Georgia and like against LSU. But they also had the unexplainable losses to some pretty bad teams last year as well. But again, they had the bad game against Florida State, but kind of rebounded and backed that up, or looked better against Georgia last week. So, and he could go right back to being on the top of the you-know-what list tomorrow if they lose to Vanderbilt. Like, it's that fluid when you're a place like Alabama. But, like, I think we're waiting for that just true sign that Alabama, as we know it, is, or as we have known it, is dead and over with, but we just haven't seen it consistently enough yet to say that.
If they roll over Vanderbilt, and it doesn't have to be like 41-7 or anything of that matter, but let's just say they go out tomorrow and they win and it's 24-7.
Sure.
And it's just kind of a dominant performance and the game was never in question. Maybe it's a boring game. Yeah, even then I'll be like, all right, Bama. Not that I think Bama necessarily went away, but Bama's back.
They're legit. And, you can chalk that up to week one jitters, that kind of stuff, which there's a lot of teams that look bad in week one and look better in the weeks after that. Carolina's been an example of that in the past couple of years. But, they still have NFL caliber talent all over that team. They have one of the best wide receiving cores in all of college football. So it's not shocking that they are back to being what we thought they were going to be. But that week one game took us a lot of us by surprise.
Final thing that has surprised me, it's the evolution of college football, Tyler, and I don't know what to make of this. I don't know if this is good. I don't know if it's bad. It matters, but I'm just not sure how to address it just yet. 4 firings in the first month of the college football season.
Yep.
And, it's a situation now in which I get it. You want to get out, ADs want to get out ahead of the game on this. But to see now how quickly some of this stuff comes down the pipe is very surprising to me.
Well, let's think about it. When you fire a coach, you're basically forfeiting the rest of the season. You may win a game or two, but you're not really playing for anything. And typically, more often than not, coaches get fired late October, early November, where at that point you may have already be out of a position for a bowl game anyway, or if anything, you're just trying to fight to go 6-6. So you already kind of know you're not playing for anything. But seeing this many coaches fired before really anybody even got into conference play is definitely surprising. And I don't know if that's the new trend of college football, because here's my thought. Like, if you were so down on your coach already starting the season, why didn't you just fire him last year? And that way you could have started fresh and you're not wasting the final 7-8 games of this year punting that, because you're already looking ahead to the next year and the next era of whoever your next coach is going to be. So I don't know if that becomes a trend or if this is just an anomaly for 1 year. And there's a very good chance we could see a couple more coaches fired this weekend if certain games go certain ways.
Billy Napier, be on high alert. If you see an administrator walking to you in a brisk fashion and you've just lost, go the other way. Go the other way.
Luke Fickell at Wisconsin as well, because they got Michigan this weekend.
Yeah, at Michigan, I believe noon. I know it's a noon game.
Noon game, and
that's one that is I didn't put that on my list of surprising because it kind of, I don't want to say it's irrelevant. Not that I thought Luke Fickell was going to go up there and they were going to win championships and dominate the Big Ten, but I thought consistently 8-4 with 9-3s and all of a sudden a 10-2. I am shocked that Luke Fickell, that it has just not worked out up there, and not only is it not worked out, it's actually gone pretty south on them up there.
Well, here's the thing: they've become irrelevant, and for the longest time, Paul Chryst and all the coaches that they've had, Brett Bielema, the coach they've had before up there, none of them won the national championship, but they've always been good. Been in the mix for the Big Ten championship, winning 8, 9, sometimes 10 games and playing in big bowl games and all that kind of stuff. And now you're just at this point where you're irrelevant. Nobody thinks about you. You're in the bottom of the Big Ten with Purdue and Northwestern, which, again, Wisconsin has a long history of being a good program, and I didn't think Luke Fickell was going to bring it down this far, given the success that he had, at a place like Cincinnati before coming there. And obviously has ties to the Big Ten with his prior time at Ohio State, too. But, this experiment has utterly failed. And I think his buyout is pretty hefty. But they care about winning as much as they do as much as I think they do up there, they wouldn't be afraid to spend that money.
803-404-6100. So there is some of our surprises. We'll come back. We'll take a quick glance at the top 10 as we head to October and figure out who's a contender, who is a pretender, and we'll tell you about that. You're listening to the Halftime Show. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, and First Palmetto Bank. Let me tell you something. With interest rates being the way they are right now, there's no better time than for you to be contacting the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, and seeing what options are available for you. Maybe you're thinking about purchasing a new home here in the back half of 2025. Maybe you're thinking about building a home. You found that perfect piece of land. Now you want to build a home. Or maybe you just want to save money and you want to refinance. Well, the absolute first step that you need to take is calling Jacob Crowder today. 803-719-1005. Again, that's 803-719-1005. Let me tell you, I used Jacob Crowder about 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago now, and I can personally recommend how he does business and how he will help you and your family. So call him today and find out what your options are. 803-719-1005. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you. Slowly heading to a close here. Captain David Dare spinning the ones and twos in there. Tyler Head and myself carrying you through the afternoon as we get set for a fun Friday night. Again, a lot of great high school football games around the state that you can get into. We've got college football getting going tomorrow and Major League Baseball to get into. And Tyler, NFL, we hadn't gotten into NFL very much yet for the weekend, but it'll be another very good weekend of the NFL games. And the Chiefs, I think that's a Monday night game that they got the Jags. But I was going to say, I feel like the Chiefs are still kind of playing for their lives.
Well, do you believe that Taylor Swift dropping her album today is going to give them any kind of boost?
Oh, wait.
I had to ask.
I didn't even know about it. Thank goodness I'm like one of the few people in America that like didn't know that she was even putting out a new album.
I knew it was coming out. I didn't know it came out today. My wife was listening to it this morning after she got up, and that's why I was like, oh, is it out today? And it was. So I'm like, should I believe the Chiefs are going to win this weekend?
What did she write about? She doesn't have, there's no boyfriends that she's broke up with. What could she possibly write about this time?
I think there's some references to Travis and some of the songs. So I guess this is the happy album because she's now engaged and getting married and all that kind of stuff. So there's that.
Okay. All right.
And something else you missed is I never thought I'd break Taylor Swift's engagement on the radio, doing sports radio, but I did.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that was quite a moment.
Hey, we all have these moments where we're dumbfounded that it's us that does it, but kudos. I can't believe I wondered this. I actually wondered how all that would go down.
Okay.
Like, to that point, like as they were going through, I was like, is it going to be some kind of big thing when they get engaged? Like, is he going to do it after a football game or Super Bowl or something?
Well, people thought like he might do it if they won the Super Bowl this year, and obviously that didn't happen. They got smoked by the Eagles, but I don't know. I think it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday or something. It just kind of popped up in the middle of the day. I'm like, oh, well, this is technically sports related, so I guess we can talk about it.
Taylor Swift. Yeah. You want me to start a frenzy real quick?
Sure.
I've seen this rumor. I think it's just rumor that the next big tour, her next big tour, will involve Williams-Brice Stadium as part of the stadium tour. So there is at least a rumor. I can tell you there is at least a rumor.
Well, it might be a while.
Let me tell you,
it might be a while before that happens.
Jeremiah denied he pulls off Taylor Swift at Williams-Brice Stadium. They've had some big acts there.
That'd be something.
That would be up there. 803-404-61. All right, we'll move back away from that real quick. NFL this week, just kind of looking ahead. Boy, Spencer Rattler. Did you see the statistic on the Oklahoma Sooners?
No, I did not.
Every starting quarterback for the Oklahoma Sooners since 2015 will start in the NFL this week. Can you name?
I can. Baker.
Yep.
After break, it was Kyler Murray.
Correct.
Jalen Hurts.
Correct.
Spencer Rattler.
Excellent.
Caleb Williams.
Yes, sir.
Dylan Gabriel.
There you go. That's it.
Is that all of them?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it doesn't count. Like, obviously, Jackson Arnold's still in college. Michael Hawkins is still in college.
All the ones that are still that have the opportunity in the NFL.
Right.
That's wild, man. Lincoln Riley knows his quarterbacks, man. Spencer
needs a victory, and you get the Giants this weekend.
Was he 0-10 as a starter, I think?
Yes, I believe, yes. Yeah, he needs a victory, and they get the Giants at home. I don't know what other great opportunities are coming down the line because I don't see it against the Patriots. I don't see it against the Bears. I don't see it against the Bucs. I don't see it against the Rams.
And they are favored in this game, by the way.
He's got to stay in the starting position until the Panthers on November 9th, which seems unlikely.
I think Elijah said he got tickets for that game for like $5
for the Panthers
and the Saints. Yeah.
And he got ripped off.
Probably.
He should get a hot dog and a beer.
He might be the only one at that game.
Yeah. Rattler's numbers aren't ridiculous. Have you seen a 67% completion percentage, 5 touchdowns and an interception?
That's the thing is as bad as the Saints have been as a team, he's actually played pretty good. And here's the thing, the Saints could very well have the number 1 overall pick, and they might end up drafting maybe Arch Manning if he ends up turning his season around, or Lenore Sellers. Like, Spencer Rattler is not their long-term plan at quarterback. I get that. He's just kind of navigating this down period right now. But for him, it's about showing that you can play in the league. And, the time with the Saints may not work out, but you can as long as you can prove you can stick around, you can bounce around, be a journeyman. You'll start here and there. Maybe you'll find a sticking point with one team. But I think he's played well enough to where I'm not worried like, oh, man, he's going to be out of the league in like 2 to 3 years or something like that.
Not out of the league.
Not out of the league.
Starting days might be over, but not out of the league. But
look, he's a smart guy. We've been around him. Like he gets it. He knows football pretty well. So I think that intangible that you need to have even as a backup quarterback to just understand the game, he gives you that. So if nothing else, I feel safe saying he'll be around the league for a while.
The 1 o'clock game that stands out: Jay's Denver Broncos to Philadelphia. That one should be a fun one in the early window.
Yeah. Again, Philly is not flashy offensively. They do enough. They do keep letting teams back into games, so I do wonder if they can kind of control one from start to finish there. But, yeah, they're going to lose eventually. It's going to happen just with the way that they play offense, and the Broncos are a team that's on the rise, so that wouldn't shock me, but that is an Eagles home game.
Bills taking on New England on Sunday night. I know yesterday you mentioned it. Who loses first? Did you put this out there? England?
I did. I went with the Eagles just because I have the Bills offense is a lot better overall. Now both teams will play each other coming up in December, so no opportunity for both teams to be undefeated here. But the margins in the NFL are so thin. I just think the Eagles are going to trip up at some point, maybe against a divisional team here coming up pretty soon. But I still expect them to be a double-digit win team, no doubt about that. And I think the NFC still runs through the Eagles as of right now.
Oh, good grief! I was going to say the Eagles' next 3, if they get past the Broncos, 2 games against the Giants and 1 against the Vikings. I didn't see them losing that.
No, they should be fine with that.
Then they got the Packers. I'd be like, all right, they can lose that one.
There's an opportunity.
The Bills get the Falcons, the Panthers, and then they get the Chiefs on the second. So about the same time frame.
Yeah,
They could very likely lose both on the same weekend there.
Sure.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. So let's go back to college football. I mentioned we were going to do a quick contender or pretender for the top 10. I'm interested to see this. I think there's so much parity. I think it's great. I think college football, the on-field production is in the best place it's ever been, and that makes it a lot of fun. But let's go contender, pretender here, starting we'll go with number 10 here for you. You tell me number 10. I'm going AP Top 25 for those wondering. AP Top 25. Alabama.
Think they're a contender.
I do too.
Based on last week. Last week alone tells me they're a contender.
Okay. All right. Number 9, Texas.
I'd say pretender right now. That could change this weekend, but
no.
You don't think even dominating Florida?
Nothing about Florida changes it. They're a pretender right now. Something's not right.
I haven't seen enough out of them to think, okay, that's a team that is a viable threat for the national championship.
They do get one of their top wide receivers back. I blanked on his last name, but he is back this week and had been back. Number 8, contender or pretender? Indiana.
Now, are we talking about this from the relevance of winning a national championship?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think this thing's wide open.
Okay.
Can't believe I just said Texas is out of it, but yeah.
Yeah. I think Indiana has the capability of winning some playoff games.
Okay.
But I don't know if I put them as like a national championship contender yet. I think they still can be, but I don't know if I'm ready to say that yet.
Pretender until proven otherwise. They got 2 big opportunities coming up, Oregon and Penn State. Oregon next weekend, by the way, that game out in Eugene. Number 7, Penn State, contender or pretender?
Can't beat the best teams. Then I don't know what else to say. They're good, and they're always going to be good, and they made the semifinals last year, but when you play the best teams, you always come up short. That's a thing, and James Franklin admitted as much earlier on this week, or last week after the loss. Like, they're pretenders, man. I can't believe them as true contenders until they start beating, highly ranked teams.
I don't know how to phrase this. So I'm going to say it, and I may be wrong. Drew Allar is not dynamic.
No.
There's something not, and you look at all these teams, Marcel Reed, John Mateer, Trinidad Chambliss, Carson Beck, Dante Moore, I can't say it for Julian saying right now, but if I go through all those quarterbacks, if I was to rank the quarterbacks 1 through 10, Drew Allar, 1 through 10 on the top 10 teams, Drew Allar would be 8, 9. He'd be down at the bottom.
Out of the top 10 teams, he might be last.
There you go.
Honestly.
So, yeah, pretender for that. Number 6, this one's interesting because they're just up there, and I don't know how they got up there. Texas A&M, number 6, 4-0 in the country. You mentioned it. You got them on upset alert for tomorrow.
I do. The most underrated top 10 team right now, like I said, how they get up to 6, that's crazy. But, I mean, quality win against Notre Dame. Took care of business against Auburn last week. In the back of my mind, I'm like, well, they're going to find a way to go 8-4 because that's what they always do. But, I mean, I think Elko's a good coach. Okay. I don't know if I buy them as a national championship contender, but they are a good team. So I guess pretender until proven otherwise, kind of in that same, like good like Indiana, but I'm not saying they're on a run for the national championship at this moment.
Yeah, pretender. They'll their schedule though, actually. Well, I'm going to say a pretender, but their schedule does set up to be about 11-1. At the end of the season. I mean,
well, I'm not denying all these teams couldn't make the college ball playoff, but playing for the title in January, I don't know yet.
Well, if you just drew up a schedule to get you somewhere, Mississippi State this weekend, but you get them at home. Florida, at Arkansas, the game at LSU, at Missouri, they're probably their most difficult, in my opinion, the most difficult challenge. South Carolina at home, Sanford, and Texas. To wrap up the season. All right, yeah, we both go pretender on that, even though I think the schedule, they might have the easiest schedule. Oklahoma at number 5.
Man, the Mateer thing really leaves stuff up in the air because I just don't know. Obviously, it's a program always capable of being at the top of college football. Until I know what Mateer is, I got to say pretender. That can change very quickly, but I have uncertainty right now.
I'm with you on that. Number 4, Mississippi.
Definitely contender, no doubt about it.
I'm with you there, contender. Number 3, Miami.
Looks like a contender to me.
They're going to fall off. I'm going pretender.
Okay.
You watch something happens here. I obviously got them losing tomorrow. Oregon.
Easy, contender.
Yeah, and Ohio State.
Contender. Hadn't seen a lot of them, but contender.
Yeah, there you go. We'll come back. We'll wrap everything up here on your Friday. You're listening to The Halftime Show.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa will be a good, fun time. You know, I've never played there. I think a few of the guys have been there, but this is what you come to the SEC for, you know, big games like this. So we'll be really excited to go down there and check them out.
Those are the words of Diego Pavia, Tyler Head, as he gets set tomorrow to lead Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt into Tuscaloosa. Vanderbilt a double-digit underdog. Game day will be there tomorrow morning.
So think about it like this. If you had gone into, let's say, a coma, even just 2 years ago, and I told you all the elements of this game tomorrow, what would be the most unbelievable part? Would it be the fact that Vanderbilt won this game a year ago, that Vanderbilt's 5-0, that they're ranked, that Alabama had the 2 wins against Georgia they've had in both prior to both matchups with Vanderbilt, that, you know, Alabama was thought to be dead in the water only a couple of weeks ago and now seems to be back? Like, what would you have the toughest time believing?
That's a great question. 2 years ago, number one would probably be you saying, Bill, are you aware that Alabama has not played or been in a college football playoff in 2 years? Is that right? Is it 2 years?
So 2 years ago was the last season. Well, I guess the first question you would ask is, where did Nick Saban go?
Yeah.
Because
what happened to Saban?
You would have gone to your coma when Saban was still the coach.
Yeah, is that right? 2 years?
He's like
1 year?
DeBoer, the Washington coach?
Yeah.
Who just got there at Washington, by the way?
Yeah. No, okay, so the last year was the first year they missed it. My first question would be, like, Alabama hadn't played for a national championship. It would definitely be like what has transpired at Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's 5-0. Vanderbilt's ranked 16th. There's a part of me that's pulling for this storyline to keep going, right?
Sure.
There's a part of me. There's also a part of me who's ready to see Alabama put that pesky little SEC shorts, Vanderbilt.
The Vandy Pimp.
Yeah, put him down. Finish him off, kind of like South Carolina did last year.
It's one of those things. I don't want to root for either side here, but let's just say fourth quarter, 2 minutes to go, Vanderbilt's got the football and they're down 3 and they're driving. Like, I will probably be wanting to see them finish it off at that point. Like, do the unthinkable 2 years in a row, get to 6-0. Heck, get yourself in the top 10. You know what I mean? Like, we've never been in this position before. Why not? Let's see it happen.
Is it easier to pull for Vanderbilt tomorrow because we all out there, unless you're a Vanderbilt fan, believe that for Vanderbilt this isn't sustainable?
Yeah, it's
Clark
a flash
Lee's
in the
going to
pan.
be gone.
Right.
That Diego Pavia is going to be gone. That, like, it's a cute story, but we all look at him and be like, all right, get your 15 minutes of fame. We know you're going to go back to irrelevance here at the end of the year.
They are a program who I think we all believe their window is very small and that it's open right now. And, you know, that doesn't mean that they're going to go win the national championship. But, hey, maybe they could be a surprise team that can make the playoff on the back end. Who knows? But getting through Alabama and going to 6-0 tomorrow would go a long way with that. As far as, like, just being a fan of college football and rooting for stories, that would be one of the craziest stories we've ever had, at least in my lifetime. So, like, part of me almost wants to see it happen, right?
I can't fathom. I'm laughing because, you know, just to get to the playoff, we'd all be like, wow, Vanderbilt in the playoff. Boy, Carolina fans would be upset. Vanderbilt
Yes, that would not be good on this end.
But I'm laughing even more at the thought that if Vanderbilt somehow weaseled their way into hosting a game, after all the jokes that were made about the hanging of the crane and everything that was going on there, and let's just say Vanderbilt ends up as what would that have to be, an 8 seed? Is that right?
They'd have to be a 5 through 8 seed to host a first round game.
Worse than 8 seed, yeah. And Nashville's hosting a playoff game. That would be something else. Real quick, other big things you're just looking for tomorrow, whether it's a pumpkin patch, a football game, Arch Manning against Florida?
I hope Florida State and Miami is as fun as advertised.
Okay. Yeah.
It's got the making of a big matchup. I'm going to lose a little luster because Florida State lost last week, but this is a huge brand game, right? And I hope it's fun. I hope it's setting the table for a rematch in the ACC championship, and we just see a good football game.
Truthfully, it's going to sound kind of, the ACC needs that game to be great.
Yes.
The ACC needs that one to step up where the ACC can almost come back and promote and say, hey, that was round 1. We're going to get round 2 in the ACC championship game. Yeah, if you're the ACC, you're pulling for that to be an absolute knockdown slobber knocker. I think it'll be. I've got Florida State 31, Miami 28. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm pulling for that. Tomorrow.